Okay, Matt, over to you.
Right, good morning everyone. Thanks for inviting me along. I'm Matt Lawrence. I'm from a small village in Shropshire, northeast Shropshire, and I don't quite know how I've got involved in any of this. It started off a few years ago working in our local area, in our local tower, and then I somehow got involved with the Central Council Volunteer and Leadership Work Group, and I've been working with various people with that group and the Association of Ringing Teachers on sort of sharing my experiences of recruitment and retention and the development of a recruitment and retention workshop. So just sort of briefly go through the roadmap out of lockdown, and hopefully you're aware of this and what does that mean for ringing. Some positive news finally after a long old year. So from Monday, the 29th of March, this allows 6 people outdoors to meet up, maintaining social distancing. So it's a chance to dust off handbells if you've got any tower handbells, or meet together.
Oh, sorry, Matt.
I'll unmute myself. So yeah, it's a good chance of meeting up as small groups, getting together either socially or having a bit of a dabble on handbells. From the 12th of March, or the caveat no earlier of 12th of March, this will enable young groups of ringers to meet up following the out of school setting guidance. I think we're still waiting for a lot of detail on rules and what this will mean. But if you've got established young ringers group, there's ability for them to get together and get ringing ahead of us as older folk. So for the general community, stage 3, no earlier than the 17th of May, and this is all subject to infection rates and everything, but this will enable social distancing ringing back in towers, so where we were in the summer. So whether that is a 2-meter gap or a 1-meter gap or a 1.5-meter gap, it still needs to be finalised, but good news about getting back in the tower and making the noise. And the exciting bit, if you're a glass half full person, we'll be back to normal on the 21st of June. So a lot of caveats on there about what exactly that means. Will there be any restrictions on face masks? It's still to be finalised, but say good news about a return to normal, but there's a few months to wait, and we have to see how the various infection rates play. But as I say, there's some positive news finally about our return. So it's not just us, and this is very wordy. I'll get Roger to send the PowerPoint round so you can read it in detail. It's not just us that have missing the bells. I've spoken a lot to our local vicar and members of the local congregation. The sound of bells have been missed, and the times when we've been able to get out ringing, it's really noticeable in the general community how much they've been missed and how welcome they are, both in the church and the wider community. So some very kind words from the vicar about what the bells mean to him and the church. And this is followed through in the congregation. We've got a member of the congregation, if we are ringing a single bell for service, it says it really is encouraging them to skip down the road, and the joy of that extra spring in the step as she's walking towards the church that she loves. And when we have been ringing, we do a lot of posting on the village Facebook page, and really positive comments about how we've been missed. And even if we're only ringing sort of two or three bells, and even if we're just chiming bells as a single group of family, it's really appreciated in the local community. So it's not just us that are missing bells, it's everyone. So this brings up to a interesting dilemma. There's a bit of a clunky roadmap back to return to ringing. Should we be talking about recruitment or retention, or is it retention and recruitment? First task to me is to get ourselves, existing ringers, back ringing, back comfortable ringing. and then think about how we recruit. I think we're a bit unsure what's going to happen over the winter. There may be social distancing, face masks, rules coming back in, and it's picking the right time when we're allowed that face-to-face hands-on recruitment. So certainly to a lot of discussion at the minute across guilds and associations is that focus on retention, getting us all back ringing, confident ringing, and building out from there. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of resources and a lot of ideas out there. We've got the Recovery Champion Network, and that's a joint central council and Association of Ringing Teachers initiative. And that's really about getting sort of a connection with the grassroots ringers out there and trying to find out what's happening in local areas, share best practice. There's a lot of activity happening, and everyone's doing something slightly similar. So it's a way of trying to share that best practice. I'm a great fan of pinching with pride and sort of copy and look at what other people to do and working out where that fits in our local area. And this network of recovery champions, which I understand Roger's one, is that true, Roger? It's an idea to then feed back to what's happening in local areas and then share all this good practice and enthuse us on our return to ringing. We'll look through it in a minute. So part of this is the Survival and Recovery Toolbox. There's lots of ideas and case studies on there about how we can return back to ringing, what we should be doing in the meantime, and having to think about the sort of things we should be doing over the next few months. There's some fantastic resources out there for recruitment and retention, both on the ART website and the Central Council website. Loads of case studies out there. It's about learning from what's worked in other areas. None of it is at all preachy. There's no, you must do this, A, B, and C, a prescribed list of what to do. It's showcasing what people have tried across the country and having a think about how that you can replicate that for your own local areas. There's a lot going on again with the Central Council. There's lots of initiatives on how to encourage younger ringers into the exercises, both at university and through schools, and sort of young professionals to get more of those involved. There's work on sort of lesson plans for schools that can be rolled out to schools about encouraging where bell ringing fits into the curriculum with mathematics in there. And it's hoped that these initiatives will promote more young people into the exercise. And Roger's been involved quite heavily with this. There's plans for a new mobile belfry. If those who've experienced volunteering at one of the existing mobile belfries will realise they're a bit of a pain and a bit time consuming to put up and take down. So as modern engineering and technology comes along, they're looking at designing a new mobile belfry that's a lot easier to set up. And that's a great thing to be able to use in recruitment events across the country, attending village shows, county shows, things like that. A fantastic resource to use to encourage people into the exercise. So I'll just, right, can we all see my screen again? Are we in? So this is just the Survival and Recovery Toolbox. There's a link in the presentation. And if you haven't seen it before, I'm sure Roger will send it out. So there's a load of information and resources on here through all what's happening with online ringing, online training courses. I'll just pick out a few key pages. One of the things that is a concern in our local area is some people haven't rung for 12 months. They're a bit nervous, both that physicality of ringing a bell again. Lots of people sort of reporting if they have rung, they're having aching shoulders, aching knees and all sorts. So there's some resources in there for some simple exercises that we could all do for 10 minutes or so during a day to get ourselves prepared to be back ringing. One of our local ringers has got real bad problems with his shoulder and went to the the physio, and the physio said, what you really need to do is a hobby where you spend your life sort of kind of doing that. And he says, well, I've got one. And he thinks that's where his shoulder problem had been kept in check by ringing, and not being able to ring the bell has made that come to light. So lots of interesting things on there. Some interesting things about how to build good relationships back with the local community, and some ideas there. This is hot off the press. There's a mail shot you consider to put round to local residents, or advertise on posters or social media to explain about our return to ringing, so it doesn't come as a shock, explaining why the bells might sound a bit different, or it may not be the same standard while we blow away those cobwebs as it were when we got away. So apologies, it's difficult to see on screens, but have a chance offline to have a good look at what's available. Lots of talk about sort of quick wins and recruiting lapse ringers. There's believed to be as many lapse ringers out there, perhaps significantly more so than ringers currently in the exercise. So there was research done a few years ago, sort of explaining or exploring the reasons why people gave up bell ringing. So it's understanding why people had given up. And for those, there may be a pool of ringers out there with some subtle encouragement and to bring them back into the exercise, and it'll give you a chance to hit the ground running. It's a lot easier to teach people with previous experience of being able to ring, the falling off the bike metaphors and thing out there. So then on to recruitment and retention. Again, lots of potential resources out there. There's the Association Ringing Teachers resources. Just click on that if my computer will play ball. There's lots of ideas behind this about recruitment activities, and each one has links to sort of leaflets, posters, and all sorts of things that you can do to encourage people through the door. So there's also a series of articles for the ringing world that the VNL group helped write, and that was really looking about recruitment and retention during lockdown. Towers are still doing it. There are new ringers out there who have progressed ringing plain hunt, plain bob doubles, and all sorts of things, who've never physically rung a bell. Yeah, just because we're in the middle of a pandemic and lockdown doesn't mean there's not a lot of great work going out there. Just before lockdown 1, we were about to launch a recruitment and retention workshop that would take people through a plan and produce their own plan for recruitment and retention in their local areas. And this was either through a organised workshop, or there's online resources that people could take away and design their own workshop. There's more to come with this, and we are looking at developing a online workshop. So today is a very quick half an hour view of what's happening. So recruitment retention, you could talk for days, weeks, months on. So it's giving power to local towers to learn the good practice out there and find out what works for their area, and get out recruiting. So I think it's fair to say that it's not just a bell ringing problem, recruiting volunteers. This is a cartoon from the Church Times. So any voluntary organisation, from choirs to environmental groups that are going around mowing churchyards, to hobbies such as guides and scouts, have all got this challenge. It's a crowded marketplace. People are a lot busier than they used to be. talking to parents of young children. They've got things arranged on a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. So how do we fit in that crowded marketplace? And it's not just us ringers who are struggling with it. And things have changed. What gets people into the tower is slightly different than it used to be. This isn't an exhaustive survey; it's just a snapshot from various polls. But that traditional route of people through the church or from family members is a lot less than it used to be. So there's a lot of recruits being brought in from sort of tower open days or public appeal for new ringers. So things like Ringing Remembers bought a load of new ringers for the exercise. So it's having to think about post-pandemic, how do we do more of that? And Central Council with ART sort of working on future plans for that. So this will be then a sort of a whistle stop tour through the recruitment toolbox, the 10-point plan. And I found this really helpful with our own recruitment in our own village. So I'll go through what we've done using this 10-point plan and say the idea of the workshops, whether they're online, a formal workshop, or the resources given to local towers to come and sort of produce their own recruitment plan. It's having that think of that cradle to grave. How do you recruit new people? How do you train them? How do you keep them involved in the exercise? And how do you integrate them into your local band? Because they're a fantastic resource, but can be a drain and can change the dynamic of your existing group of ringers. So it's really important that we work on that. So this is what we've done in Lilleshall. We're a smallish village. There's about 1,000 residents in the village. We're on the edge of sort of 6 miles from Telford and Newport. So we have got larger towns, but we are quite rural in our nature. The first thing we did, and the first point of the plan, is raising awareness of bell ringing in both with the local community, with the church, with the vicar, with the congregation. So we've spent a lot of time on sort of social media doing really simple posts, and we've got our own Facebook page, but there's no point just posting on your own Facebook page because only you'll read it. So we post on various village social media, write articles for local parish news, and really simple, just to tell people what we're about. Portraying bell ringing has been a bit of fun. That's our entry to the Scarecrow Festival. It's a scarecrow dangling out the louvres. It's not a ringing accident, but that prompted a lot of comment on social media. We sort of said, oh dear, we've broken the bells again, and that got the conversation going. So we're kind of known in the community now as bell ringers. We've got an identity, and every time we sort of post about a return to ringing, or we were ringing for Captain Tom the other day, we get quite a lot of hits compared with the other social media traffic. And if there's a general understanding of ringers and in the community, it helps with any recruitment campaigns. You talk to so many ringers who mention that they didn't know there were humans ringing the bell, or you had to be a hand-selected team. So it's kind of getting that message across. We're real people, we're humans, we have fun. Think about coming to join us. So what were we trying to achieve? It's really important that your recruitment's built around what you want to do and what resources you've got available to do it. Our key aim was to have a injection of new recruits to keep the bells ringing on the Sunday. We were down to a group of 7 people, and with holidays and various other things, some Sundays we were either not ringing or ringing only a few bells. The first thing I did, and I know it's not for everyone, but I found it really useful, I went on a ART Module 1 teaching bell handling course. I've not done much teaching previously, to recruiting here. And that really gave me the confidence and provided a network of help and advice to help me through that teaching exercise. Really gave me the confidence to get on and do it. Who to recruit? We kind of went for everyone. We didn't. We did lots and lots of different things. We haven't got a university, and we were slightly controversially. We didn't turn anyone away, but we were trying to get more ringers and lower the average age of the band. I was by far the youngest member of the band by about 20, 30 years. So sustainability going forward, we wanted to get that age down. We've worked with local schools, local scout groups and local children's group, and are lucky enough to have, before lockdown, a core of sort of six youngsters under the age of 16. So really need to prepare yourselves with safeguarding and that side of things. It's really important to involve the church and the PCC in the discussions to make sure you're compliant with the necessary regulation. So what did we try and do? We tried to do everything. We did a bit of advertising. We bullied people into having a go at bell ringing. We had all sorts of, it was almost, call test. The vicar recruited on our behalf, people phoning up, inquiring about weddings. He said, you should go and try bell ringing. The church treasurer sort of went around talking to his friends and encouraged them to go on. So we didn't do a formal one open tower day. We just did a lot of little things to encourage people through the door. Publicity, again, it's moving away from putting notices on tower doors or village notice board. We found the best way is talking to people, engaging with people, stressing what a great hobby we had and they should come along and give it a go. It was no hard sell. There was quite a lot. Come and have a go at ringing, have a chat, meet the ringers, and have a think if this is a hobby you want to pursue. The easiest thing we ever did was a 2-minute post on Nextdoor, which is a local social media village page, just saying we were looking for some new bell ringers. Get in touch if you wanted to join. And we got 4 recruits out of that, 3 of which are still ringing, and the one who's not ringing has gone off to university. So you don't have to do anything grand. You don't have to organise big events. Sometimes the simple stuff works. So particularly if you're looking for that 1 or 2, 3 or 4 new ringers in a session that you can teach and then integrate in the band, and then maybe once there's, look for a couple of new ringers. If you start in a band from scratch, you may have to try something more like a tower open day. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Continually think about publicity and encouraging people through the door. Some towers do this really well and got a waiting list for ringers. They will attract, they'll try and recruit 1 or 2 new ringers a year and have got a waiting list and have got several years of resources of new ringers coming in. So the follow-up is very much about striking while the iron is hot. If you've got someone interested, and it's difficult in lockdown, but it's try and get them involved as quick as possible. Arrange a date. In Wensleydale, they've run a online recruitment event, using Ringing Room, and have got, I think it was a dozen people interested. But they've got a 6-week worth of sessions for people to go to. So it's not just say, oh, you fancy bell ringing, I'll give you a ring at some point. Have some structure to get them involved as quick as possible while there's interest there, build upon it. Intensive training, I'm sure Roger will back me up on that. The stats say that intensive training is a much better way of retaining recruits. I think gone are the days where people will accept ringing a couple of times in the evening as part of a busy practice and sit there in the corner. We need to get them involved in the hobby, and in those first initial weeks, get them up to speed as possible. What you forget in between sessions, if there's a week gap between a ringing session, you're almost spending the first sort of 20 minutes refamiliarizing yourself with what you've learnt last week. So if you have it more structured, you progress. So we were lucky to get a grant from our local councillor for a simulator, and we did so much ringing, our old bell ropes within the space of 6 months, all broken, had to be respliced. We've got new ropes now. So can't stress how much that intensive training helps progression and get people hooked on their hobby and enjoying it. It's really important to keep your new ringers interesting. There are times when it's really frustrating. They can feel like giving up if you don't look after them. Find for other things for them to do and celebrate their success. This is 4 of our newer ringers on their first ringing outing, especially arranged for them. And they got such a buzz out of it. That's 6 of our Ringing Remembers recruits all ringing together for the first time on the 1 year anniversary of the armistice, the 100-year celebration there. So it's building that enjoyment, getting them involved in the wider aspects of bell ringing, the social side, and forming that community and that vibrant atmosphere. And this is making recruitment work for everyone in the band. It can be exhausting as a ringing teacher. Burnout is if you find yourself ringing Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. It's about sharing the load amongst the groups of people in the tower, or working with other towers to share that route. Lots of examples of where people have recruited and trained together, the development of ringing clusters to share that experience, that load, and create that network of ringers that can support each other. This is a before and after. This was our band sort of 3 years ago for Christmas ringing, and that's the band on the right at one of our Sunday morning breakfasts that we went to before lockdown. That's 2 years of hard work, but I think if we can do it in Lilleshall with what we've got, it's not an insurmountable issue for towers. Hard work, but if you keep at it, you can achieve great things. And it's then thinking about how do you not lose those existing ringers. You can see that we've managed to retain all, but unfortunately our tower captain in the middle, Bill, passed away. We've had a couple of retirees who were coming to the end of their enjoyment of ringing anyway. So, but it's how to make sure that the existing ringers aren't put off by these new people. They've got a role to play in helping their development, and we're not forgetting about their skills. So making sure that they get time to practice and develop their own ringing, and you're not overtaken by these new ringers and all the focus is on there. So think about sort of court appeals or special practices where they can advance their skills and not leave them out. So a few key messages. I think the immediate focus needs to be on the retention of existing ringers. Recruitment will follow. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't start planning now. So have you got leaflets available? Have you got an idea of what you're trying to achieve? Have you got enough teachers to teach new recruits through branches, clusters? Is there the ability to pull resources together so you can not be trying to do it on your own? I think, say, recruitment and retention should be considered as a whole. It is how you get a new recruit through the door, get them hooked on the exercise, and how you keep them going. So they're ringers for life. They don't just come in, have a go, and then drift away because ringing's not for them. So thinking about how you get through the door and their early ringing career and how you're going to keep them going. And again, say retention is about every ringer. Any ringer can give up for various reasons, through fallouts to sort of busy periods of work. It's how do you look after everyone and can keep them connected with a hobby. I'm a big believer, again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Loads of good practice out there. Have a look around and adapt what others have done to your local area and keep at it. There's experienced people share that they've tried 3 open days. The first 2 open days, they hardly got any recruits from it, whereas in year 3, they ended up with 6 new ringers. So it's continually keep at this process. Continually think about how you get new people through the door and how you encourage them. That's targeting lapsed ringers for a quick win. Are there ringers out there that you know, or can you do some local advertising? You may have had a new ringer arrive in the area who is disconnected from the hobby, hasn't rung for some time, but that spark of, oh, I'll give that another go, will get them back into the exercise. This high quality teaching to give the recruits the foundation skills to allow them to develop, I think is really key. I look too many times around our local area where people are trying to progress in their ringing and getting frustrated and getting put off because they haven't got those bell control to enable them to do what they're doing. So there's that continuous focus on those foundation skills, the ability to control a bell and put it where you want it to go. It's really important to plan ahead. Don't wait till it's too late, just because you might have a strong band at the minute. Things change. So how are you going to think about that steady stream of new recruits? It's a load easier to do that rather than to train a band from scratch. So yeah, get as many of our existing ringers back ringing, consolidate, and then look to recruit from there. That collaborate with other towers. There's loads of good examples out there. It is sharing the load, sharing that experiences, and allowing that development of a community of new ringers who will support each other. And finally, it's listen to and use your newer recruits. They're a fantastic resource. I learnt to ring when I was 13. It's a long time ago. I can't remember it being particularly horrifically scary. I was probably terrified doing it, but that support that the newer ringers are provided to the new recruits is invaluable. They're the ones who put down their arms around them when they've missed the sally or done something stupid, saying, I know how you feel, I did all that. Julie on the right has been ringing for sort of 4 or 5 years. In the early days, she let go of a rope and ran out the tower crying and could easily have given up, but she's used that experience to look after the others when they're going through similar things. So yeah, it's listen to the newer recruits and get them involved. They've got a much better idea. We can be a bit techie and talk our own language. One of our ringers there, Sally, said at her first bell ringing lesson, she thought she'd stepped into an episode of Midsummer Murders. There's this strange atmosphere with ringers. She's just thinking, I wonder who's going to get murdered, and I hope it's not me. It's yeah. Us that have been doing it a long time, we speak our own language, and it's nonsense to new people. So it's learning from the new recruits to help them. So that's a real whistle stop through tour. Yeah, say we could go on for hours and hours and hours, and I hope that's been helpful, and happy to answer questions if I can, or if I can't, I'll pass them on to Roger.
Okay, so thank you very much for that, Matt. I'm sure there was lots of thought-provoking things there. So hopefully some people are going to volunteer in a minute to raise their hand and ask some questions. No. Yes, we have. Jonathan, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello, I'm Jonathan from Bramley, in the north of Hampshire. My big concern is on training. So our tower captain is over 80, and just before lockdown, pretty well decided to hang up his rope, at least in terms of being tower captain. And certainly after lockdown, I doubt he'll be really willing to do training. And none of us have any experience of that. So you've pointed us in the direction of the website, but it might just be helpful to have a bit more detail on how we go about doing that, what it costs, whether there's help available with costs, that sort of thing.
So I found really useful was that ART module 1, that teaching of bell handling, and I know the Association Ringer teachers will have plans to get those operating. Roger may be able to fill you in more of that to give you the confidence to do so. The option is that is, can you do something locally? Is there an experienced teacher who's prepared to come in and help you out, help mentoring you, not necessarily do all the teaching, but that be that support to help you, so then you're empowered to teach new people going forward. It's a scary thing to do if you've never done it before, and the only way around that is keep doing it. Keep doing at it. The more you do, the more confident you get, and the better you get. But there is support out there through sort of the formal training courses. Some associations, district branches will subsidise the cost of attending them when we do get back to face-to-face things like that. But they're not horrifically expensive to do. It's about sort of covering costs of putting on the course rather than making a profit. But yeah, there's either the formal route, or if you've got some experienced people that can come together and recruit as a group and share that burden and share the learning.
And how long does that level 1 course take?
I'd explain that, Matt, and just put a WMP perspective on it if I can.
Yep.
In terms of the course, obviously it was all designed quite some time ago now to help people like yourself who've not taught before or relatively inexperienced. And you can't teach somebody to teach other people to handle a bell in a day. So there's an initial one-day course, but then the aim is to give people experience. So there's a period, and it can be as long as you like really, where you gain experience. So the idea originally was that there would be an experienced teacher allocated to you to help you as you teach your first few pupils, and then you'd fill in a logbook, and when you felt confident, then you complete the course. So in terms of the WMP, there's been one meeting, and Pete Jordan might want to say something in a minute, with district ringing masters and a few other people a few weeks ago, and each district in the WMP has been asked to put together a recovery plan and some ideas. And I know that some of the districts are talking about organising some training for new teachers. It doesn't necessarily have to be ART. It's, you know, we're there if people want to use it, but there are other ways. And I think the important thing is that I think going forward, what Matt said about towers helping each other out, you know, it's not so much the one-day course, but it's the experience you get from other teachers and working together. And if you've got 3 or 4 towers or 5 or 6 towers all helping each other out, you will learn a lot from other teachers, and everybody does things in a slightly different way anyway, so it's not prescriptive at all. And I think there's another meeting, I think in just over a fortnight's time, isn't it, Pete, of the districts to talk about taking forward the recovery plans.
Yes, Roger. It's on the, I think it's on the 12th of April, just after Easter. So yeah, we held an initial meeting in January, and from that, I asked the districts, as you say, to go away and look at how the districts can support individually, either as a district or as local cross-district groups, recovery of ringing. What we don't want, thinking back to things like the millennium influx of ringers, where we had a lot of new ringers come in, and then there was insufficient resources in the towers or the districts to actually train them properly, and people, they either ended up with a very good passage forward in ringing, or they got fed up and they went away, or whatever. So we're trying to overcome some of those issues that we had before.
Thank you, Pete. I think was it David Bevan had his hand up a moment ago, and then I think Bruce wants to say something.
Yeah, I did have my hand up. You sort of half answered the question, Roger. I should introduce myself. David Bevan from running at Guildford Cathedral, so I'm a bit out of your district, but we were encouraged to listen in, and very interesting. One thing that really resounded with me, Matt, what you spoke about was the essential need for high quality teachers. And Roger, you've addressed that a little bit. I think I see a lot of enthusiasm in Towers in teaching, but it's just so frustrating when the teaching is poor, to be frank. Have you any suggestions on how to encourage better teachers when you've got that enthusiasm in Towers, but just no interest in finding out how to do it right, to be honest?
I think that's something we all battle with. We've tried locally to have that almost mentor relationships with Towers that are prepared to listen, where that ongoing support and reflection about how you teach people and the need to do to do it better. And we've tried with sort of retrospective correction training with a few of the more competent, for want of a better word, teachers to work on those people who are struggling with those foundation skills. But I don't think we've got it anywhere near right, and I think that's one of the major challenges. I get really frustrated with people coming to association events and they can't handle a bell properly. So it's that slow kind of change of culture, and when new enthusiastic teachers come along, continually support them and encourage them to progress and continually to get better at it. I think it's a difficult one. I don't think there's no a quick fix. You need people to be prepared to change and listen, and not just think I've always done it like this, I'm fine.
Thank you for that. We've got a couple of people. First of all, did Bruce have his hand up?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Then we've got Caroline, and then Caroline and Martin, and then Martin Barnes. So Bruce.
Okay. I will just say that I've done the ART Foundation course, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. So don't be shy about coming forward. Also, that it's worth saying that there is a payback for yourself, because you are a better practitioner of whatever you do if you're skilled as a teacher, and it doesn't matter whether you're teaching bell handling or librarianship or riding a bike. So that's a point worth remembering. And I will also say that I have actually been taught how to ring 3 times in my ringing career. So it's always, you try and encourage an atmosphere in which if you say something, if you point something out, it's not carping. It's not criticism. It's not, oh, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. But it's really in a spirit of mutual cooperation and kindness and helpfulness.
That's really good points. We had an amusing it can be quite frustrating teaching. So we had an evening of teaching people to ring up and down, and they were all saying, don't forget to catch the first Sally after you took a coil, and about the fifth person didn't. And I just let my frustrations go. And I said, for the love of God, what's wrong with you people tonight? And I went, oh, I'm so sorry. But they found it really funny, and they put it on Facebook saying, I think we've like upset Matt tonight. And my mum phoned me up because she looks at our Facebook page and shouted at me for being rude to our learners, and says, I've brought you up better than this. And now every time I get vaguely cross, I'll just go, we'll tell your mom. So it's encouraging that atmosphere, isn't it? That you can get things wrong, be frustrated, but it's having those open, good relationships with people to go through those things.
There's also watching how other people teach and thinking, yeah, I could do that. I could pick that skill up, or maybe I'll do it that way.
So prepared to change and adapt your response, and not think you ever got it 100% right.
You can learn a lot from other people.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Bruce. I think Caroline and Martin were the next, and then we've got Martin Barnes following. So unmute yourselves.
Yes, Martin Daniels from Sherfield English and Romsey. I'm an ART teacher and mentor. Just to go back on the quality of teaching, I think it is extremely important. We really push at this, particularly as we're going on to social media to get recruits. The danger is it only takes one recruit and one post to really undo a lot of good work from a bad experience. And I think that's something that, for me in particular, because I don't do social media, but it's being aware of what can actually happen if things go wrong and we're not doing it correctly.
Thank you, Martin. The other Martin, Martin Barnes.
Yes, I'm Martin from the Basingstoke district. You've mentioned, that was a great talk, Matt, absolutely spot on and really good. You mentioned the social side of things, but there was one word that is essential that you didn't mention, and that's the word pub. And, you know, the social side is as important. We have ringers in our tower who are very slow to learn. They're coming along nicely. They would have given up if they didn't enjoy the social side. And, you know, I often go, or used to go up into Norfolk a lot ringing, and there are a lot of towers up there that are really struggling for ringers. But, you know, you go into a cold tower and they shuffle around, and then at the end it's bye-bye and you'll go home. And then no one goes to the pub. And I'm sure they would retain people and have much more fun if they went to the pub. I recently did it because I'm on the BSc. I did a bell inspection somewhere, and the chap said to me, who let me in the tower, he said, I don't like ringing here because there's too much chit chat. He said, sometimes it's 10 minutes between ringing and we hardly get any ringing in. I said, do you go to the pub afterwards? No, we don't do the pub. I said, there's your problem. People are socializing in the tower more than they should be. Get the pub going. People love going to the pub. And I'm sure it's a big part in keeping them.
Yeah, and we haven't got a pub in our village, so that's probably why I've not mentioned it. But there's alternatives that you can do, from teas and coffees to go around people's houses and things. And it's that whole social side to glue everyone together is really important.
It is,
and it's sharing that load, getting people involved. So tower captain's not just about doing everything yourself. So have someone else looking. One of our new ringers, one of the ropes broke when she was ringing, and she says, oh dear, what do I have to do? Do I have to pay for a new rope? And I says, no, but you've got to go home and repair it. And she went home, looked on YouTube, and came back the next day, knocked on my door saying I've repaired it, and she'd learnt to splice the rope. So she's now our rope splicer till we had new ropes. And it's finding ways of engaging people in wider things and getting them involved, and social side's really important. It's what keeps us all going, isn't it? We've got lifeline friendships. I met my wife through ringing. It's what glues us together. If it was just about ringing, it'd be not as fun.
Absolutely.
I think there's a message in the chat.
There was a message a moment ago about somebody having dropped out and dropped back in. Yeah.
We've got something about why you don't recruit over 60s retirement people who've got time to do it. And I think that's a really valid point for our own particular circumstances. First off, we were trying to lower the average age of the band. We didn't turn anyone away, and we'd never turn anyone away from having a go. So it's what's right for your tower and what's right for your particular circumstances. Where is the resource out there to get ringing sustained in the future? Each group has got its pros and cons. Young people might learn quicker, but more liable to give up or find something else to do. So perhaps people with more time have got a longer, greater commitment and have equally got skills to do. So it was controversial in our advert, and I don't think we'd put an age limit on it again if we did it, because we wouldn't want to turn anyone away. So good challenge there.
And I think it depends on the age group that you're concentrating on as well as how you teach them, because at Alresford we've had a couple of, shall we say, mature learners who had retired. So we actually had some practices on a Tuesday morning with a simulator to improve their bell handling and teach them to do things like plain hunting, and they made quite a lot of progress. So if you've got that group, you can do that. Equally, I think I've been involved in some discussions about how you get young people involved, and I know that certain places young people often spend quite a bit of time traveling backwards and forwards from school. You know, they might be going to school 10 miles away, so they might not necessarily be very keen with all the homework they have to do to attend a practice starting at 7:30. So it might be more appropriate to look at after school clubs and that sort of approach. So we've got to be a bit more flexible in the way that we've traditionally done things. There's obviously no reason later on why they can't come back and once they've got through a certain stage during the practice. Pete, Jordan's got his hand up, so unmute yourself, Pete.
Oh, it's actually Lynn.
Yes, we were just wondering, in the first slide when you were talking about when we could get back to ringing, you had in brackets 15 young people. I wonder what age young is considered. Is that under 18s or?
It's school age, isn't it? So it's under 18s.
So under 18s. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Has anybody else got that? I'm having to go backwards and forwards between a couple of different screens because we've got. Has anybody else got anything? No. So what I'll do is I'll finish the recording and place this on the Guild Facebook group, and Matt's going to get his slides on there. Thanks everyone for attending, and hopefully we'll see you again in the not too distant future. We haven't got any more webinars planned, but once we have our meeting in a fortnight's time, if there's a demand for more webinars on topics as we gradually return to the tower, then I'm sure we can find people to put them on for you. So thanks very much for attending, and hopefully we'll see you again when we're back in the tower. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.